Should be. We are officially live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode here of Transformation Greatness along with the Small Business Network podcast. I'm your host here, Sean A. White, and we are here for the last Sunday of 2023. So happy New Year's Eve to everyone. Hoping that everybody is really taking this time out really to reflect, spend time with loved ones, and really getting prepared for an exciting year of 2024. And with that being said, guys, we are actually kicking off on a high note here. We have a gentleman here that, man, this has been a long time in the making, but I just believe this is so indicative of how 2024 is going to be. We have our very special guest here, our brother Randall Gilbert. He is someone that's truly on fire. He is a dynamic speaker and entrepreneur extraordinaire. And we're going to be able to today, on a one-on-one basis, get to learn more about brother Randall and everything in which that he's doing in terms of his greatness and also for 2024, the plans in which that he has. So with no further ado, guys, I want you all to welcome the one, the only Randall Gilbert to the podcast. Welcome, my friend.
Hello, sir. So honored to be with you guys today. Thank you. And Happy New Year to everyone.
Absolutely. And for everybody too that's tuning in, do us a favor if you will. If you catch this on the live, put in hashtag live. Let us all know where you're tuning in from. And if you should happen to catch this on a replay, go ahead and put in hashtag replay. So I just want to make sure here, Brother Randall, before we get started, that we are officially live and in charge. And if you can do us a fave, if you will, if you find this podcast valuable, and which I believe you will, please feel free to share it out as far as on all your social media platforms. Definitely, please feel free to do so. So, with that, bro, Randy, let's go ahead and dive in. So, for the listening audience, for those that may not be familiar with you, if you can just give them a brief introduction of who you are, and let's dive into this bad boy.
Greetings. Again, thank you for having me on your wonderful show. Well, a show that I've come to appreciate watching the people that you have on. I hail from Georgia, a little place called LaGrange, Georgia. And I ended up in the military, and I now make my home in Northern Virginia. Ended up going on this crusade that God has placed me on when I realized that because of not having a father in my life, never knowing my biological father, I made so many mistakes because there were certain things that I felt as a child that I should have received that I did not. And I struggled to relationships, to marriages. And because I did not understand a lot of things, I did make mistakes. Now, the decision that I did make, ladies and gentlemen, the decision that I did make, I made a promise to myself, and I didn't know how I was going to do it. I said that if I'm blessed with children, I am going to be the father for my children that I did not have for myself. I'm here to tell you, I had no idea of how that was going to come about. But when you make a declaration like that, our Father who sits in heaven hears that. Once you make a promise to yourself that I am going to be that impactful, loving, kind father that I did not have, then God will open up avenues for you to step into this. So I did not know that a contributing factor in my life of not having a father would be the purpose that he would choose for my life.
Wow. Wow. You know what? That's very interesting too, Brother Randall, because there's a lot of men that can actually relate to that, not having, their father in their life. It reminds me of how the way, I was raised as far as with me and my twin sister. Basically, our father, he wasn't really in our lives. And I know as far as with me, that was very, very tough as being like a young man, being raised in the projects. And really not understanding on why he didn't want to, step up and be a father. And obviously, as the years went along, and unfortunately, when he passed when I was 14, I still held on that resentment and rage. But as I got older and I really started to learn more about myself, it's very interesting because he was someone that his father didn't teach him as far as on how to be a man and on how to be a father. So with that, not to say as far as that's an excuse, but I can understand the reason why, he didn't step up to the plate because he didn't have someone to show him, right? And
Mhm.
I just believe that's a lot of men that I come across over the years that
Sir.
they don't know how to be fathers themselves,
Yes, sir.
right? But at the same token, though, it's still no excuse whatsoever. But I just wanted to point that out there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Again, having those thoughts of why wasn't or why didn't my father want to be a part of my life? I was blessed to have had a grandfather who I lost, like you did, at the age of 14. Now, if I live to see 2026, he will have been gone for 50 years. And I
Mm,
still talk more about him now than I've ever done in my life. I did not have my father, but I had a grandfather, I had a grandmother, and I had a mother. And later on in life, I had a stepfather. But when he came into my life, I was on my way into the military. So we didn't spend a whole heck of a lot of time together. And then I enter the military, I get married, and I thought I knew it all. I thought I knew. I'm in the military now, so I know how to be a man. But I was so far away from understanding what a man was supposed to be. And it wasn't until I ran across a group of wise men. And see, I tell this story. I was flat in the mud. They came along. I had friends who came along and saw me flat on my face and made a U-turn and went back the other way. I had family members who knew I was struggling, but instead of picking me up, they crossed the other side of the street and went down the other side. But a few wise men came along and they picked me up and put me on the back of their rides and took me to the inn, which was the house of worship. And what they gave me was a word. They gave me a word. And the first night I was with these gentlemen, they asked me, Randall, tell us a little bit about yourself. And see, ladies and gentlemen, this is where they informed me I wasn't a man because I was just pointing my finger at my wife. She didn't do this. She didn't do that. She didn't do this. And after about 10 minutes, the facilitator of the group asked me, are you finished? Uh, I said, yes, I am. He said, give me that window and you take this mirror and you look in it. And who do you see? I said, I see myself. Now, this is a group of men that I have been with for 15 years, but the very first night I was spoken to, I was spoken to as a child that had fathers. They told me, don't you mention her name in this circle ever again. You are the priest of your home. You are responsible for everything that goes on in your home. And that is all we're going to work on. I had one leg out the door and suitcases packed, ready to leave. And these men on the very first night told me, I know you want to leave your home. I said, yes, she doesn't want me anymore. You're not going anywhere. I still had my two youngest kids were still at the house. They said, you will stay in your home if you got to sleep in your basement. Ladies and gentlemen, I end it with this. For the next 3 years, I stayed in my basement. But this is the thing that you could have never made me believe until I experienced it for myself. I chose to love a lady that did not want to love me, nor wanted me to love her. So much so, she came to me after 3 years and said, it seems like the nastier I've become, the nicer you are. I'm out of here.
Wow. Let's see here. Give me 1 second here, brother. Trying to come back on here. Wow. That was definitely powerful, my friend. And for all those, once again, that's tuning in, welcome to Transformation Greatness Along the Small Business Network podcast. We have here our fellow guest here, brother Randall Gilbert. And you know what? That definitely powerful, my friend. I mean, you could have during that time frame just said, you know what, I'm out of here. This doesn't work for me. But for the fact that you use that and it was really you said, no, I'm going to stick and stay because of what the men mentioned to you, as far as like, in other words, it's easy for you to go ahead and run out, right? So that's what boys do. But a real man, they stick in there, and you use as far as like love in order really to make that stable. And it came so much to the point where she was like, man, okay, the more nasty I'm getting, the more nice you are. This is abnormal. So you really didn't give her no fuel, so to speak, and she pretty much removed herself from the situation. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And fathers, I want you all to understand there was pain. If you and I are going to be the very best at something that we've never done before, because we had the mindset that I know everything. When it goes to changing, when you go to get around the men that are hooking you arm in arm and walking with you and encouraging you. And I even went back to my pastor who was the facilitator. To this day, I said, why were you so hard on me? The particular that first day, he said, Randall, I was obligated to give you the truth. And
Mm.
he said what implied to all of the other men of what kind of man you were. He said you kept coming back and you never left. See, fathers, if you and I are going to be that impactful, loving father, the first thing we have to understand is to see that vision of what kind of family we want to have. Once we get that vision, then we come all the way back to the beginning. That's what they did for me. And they walked with me step by step. And I could not argue. Why? Because they used the manual, they used the truth, they used the word of God to pour into me. Get this now. It's a difference between being poured on and poured into. They poured into me so that later on, a couple of years, because when she moved, my two boys went with her. But the promise that I made to myself that I was going to be involved in my children's life. I get a call from my youngest one, said, Dad, let's go to brunch. We go to brunch. And we're sitting there talking. And I said, okay, young man, what's on your mind? He said, Dad, you never wanted this family to separate, did you? I said, no, I'd made up in my mind. I was enjoying giving, doing it unto the Lord, because he was the one who gave me my joy and my peace. And my second son called me up on another occasion and said, Dad, yeah, can I say something? I said, yes, sir. I am so thankful that you and mom get along. See, fathers, the thing that we have to understand, and this is what my wise brothers taught me, you cannot build one section of a bridge while you're tearing down the other. In other words, I could not go back and beat up on my son's mom. How can I show them love if I'm okay? Sweet water and bitter water don't come out the same fountain, okay?
Mm.
I could not be patting them on the back, but yet and still knocking their mom down. And today we're friends, all because I had men who walked with me. And when it got tough, boy, the phone would ring just in time, or I could call somebody up and talk to them, and they would have prayer with me. They would encourage me all along, not knowing that God was setting me up to establish what I call the relentless Father's army. I want
Excellent.
fathers to understand that there is a place that is being put into action. Mount up, relentless fathers. We are going to take back the lives, the children who are lost, because we're going to build that foundation that they stand on. We're going to build that wall that protects them from the villains. And we're going to be that lighthouse that shines from afar, that they will always be able to see dad, and they'll always have a place to come to.
Excellent, excellent. And actually, you answered part of my next question, in which I was going to segue into, in which I was going to ask you, what is Relentless Barbers about, and what is your vision with Relentless Barbers? Because I know as far as that's pretty much like your brand, your movement. So
Mhm.
go a little bit more in detail with Relentless Barbers is. You already did touched on it about a few moments ago, but go more in depth with that.
When you take on the name relentless, let's talk about the a portion of that word is relent. That means that I'm letting go.
Okay.
That means that I'm releasing. But when I become relentless, I am making a promise to myself plus my family that I am here to learn to become the best father that I can be. And I am going to stay the course. Why? Because my children are too valuable. My children are gifts and not burdens. My children have such a bright future if fathers are in their rightful position. So I'm going to be relentless. What I did not learn, I'm going to learn, because I am going to find the men that are doing what I need to be doing. And I'm going to be like Dr. Delatoro McNeil would say, I'm going to be like a stamp, and I'm going to stick to them until it delivers. That is a promise that I can make. When you make that commitment that you're going to stay the course, you're going to find out, wow, I can do so much more. Why? Because if I'm not going to serve my beautiful gifts that I call children, and I like to describe them as those big, beautiful 747s, if I'm not going to give them a long, wide, and smooth runway to land on, which is Daddy's International, my children's future is going to be in such turmoil and disarray. We got to keep them out of jail. If dads are in position, there are statistics out there that show the kids are less likely to get involved with drugs, gangs, dropping out of school, teen pregnancy, when fathers are there. But fathers, what we have to become, there's a reason that God gave us two ears and one mouth. I like to
Mm.
describe it. When we are with our children, we need to listen, and they will answer questions that we hadn't even thought about asking. That's why we talk about being relentless. Be their biggest cheerleader, be their biggest encourager, be their biggest inspirer, and empower our children to do great things. That only happens when you and I, as fathers, have made up in our mind that we're going to win our children's hearts and become their heroes.
Wow, fantastic. And by the way, too, guys, bro Randall, even as you were speaking, it sounds like somebody done hit a transformer as far as in our neighborhood. So all the power
Mhm.
basically went out. So I definitely do apologize. But the show must go on. Nevertheless, I tell you, what a way, right, for 2024 literally start coming in with a bang though. But man, you know what? That's definitely very, very positive and very powerful. And yeah, I can definitely see how you're like very passionate by this movement as well. So again, okay, and I definitely get that. So you see a huge vision. What are you currently doing as of right now to really set the right standards? Are you doing like are you gonna start doing any speaking engagements? I know we were talking prior to the show that you was working on a few things, so maybe you can share that as far as with the audience.
Yes, sir. In April of 2024, I will be speaking at the military base at Fort Belvoir. I was turned on to that by a friend of mine who said, "Look, they're giving a men's conference," and it's amazing. When I spoke with the chaplain, I asked him what they're going to be a part in the program, men's conference, that we're going to talk about the relationship that military men may be having difficulty with their children. And we had the meeting. They said, we're going to pray on it. I called the chaplain back on Friday to wish him a uh, happy New Year's. And he said this, Randall, you've been penciled in. We are going to have you to speak at that engagement. Every month, every month, I do a live event. And if you follow me on Facebook, I do a live event once a month. And Relentless Fathers mount up. We are forming this Relentless Fathers army. You can also go and join the Relentless Fathers army. There you will be able to receive a newsletter. We're putting out a newsletter every 2 weeks. It's going to be so much. We're going to salute the children of these fathers that are doing great things, that are doing great achievements, and we're going to honor them. So, Relentless Fathers, we've got a lot of things, and I'm sure that there are going to be greater ideas coming from the fathers who become a part of this movement. We are all tired of hearing what we see in the government. Our children are frightened. We are so afraid. They are so afraid to even walk to the bus stop because of who are out there trying to lure them away. We are going to watch out for each other. We're going to be a bigger movement. We're going to take a bigger role in our communities so that we can get our children to show them that they have a bright, beautiful future, and they've got people, they've got men, they've got fathers that they can reach out to, and that we will walk and talk with them to make sure that they get every opportunity to be the very best that they can be. But it only comes when we as fathers make up in our mind that we are going to start this army, and we're going to build this army because we want to affect lives. Another thing that I have coming up is I reached out to a facility, a correctional facility, and this was brought on by a friend of mine who himself had been incarcerated, who has been away from the correctional system for 15 years now and doing very wonderful things. But he called me up because he follows me on Facebook. He said, Randall, he said, before I left the detention center, I had to take a class. They talked to me about how to get a job, how to present myself, fill out a resume. But he said, when I left, I came home to a 6-year-old. And he said, for the next 2 years, I struggled like never before. And he said, had I had someone to come in and speak to me about, okay, get that vision of where you want to go with your family, and now give me step by step instructions on how to get there, and then leave me an opportunity to reach out to that individual. He said, I would have been so much farther down the road. So I've got a meeting coming up with the Alexandria, Virginia correctional facility, and I'm putting together a course. I've written a curriculum. My wife is proofreading it, and she likes to cut things up. So when I get it back, we're going to present it to the correctional facility, and hopefully they will give me a position or a spot that where every time they have a class, my course of Relentless Fathers will be a part of it.
Absolutely. Wow. And just let me know as well, as far as like me and also those that's in attendance, by all means, just let us know on how we can be of support, because that is something that is amazing. And from what I'm hearing, that you're definitely looking for ways of adding value in your local community. And that's something too, as entrepreneurs, I believe, as far as all of us, right, as entrepreneurs, we can all add value in our respective communities, because
Mhm.
when we do that, now we're really becoming an asset rather than a liability in people's lives. So I just love, as far as everything in which that you're doing. I mean, that sounds truly incredible and fantastic. And congratulations as well, my friend.
Well, thank you, sir. And that word that you have on the screen, transformation, that is the reason we have to, as you alluded to in a conversation that you and I had before, is that we have to show up. We have to learn the things that are going to get fathers to say, I can do this. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is that we must get better at what we are doing. And we can't, here we go, we can't be a blessing, or we can't get a blessing until we become a blessing. So that's why we have to continue to press on. And I'm thankful for this opportunity to come and be in front of your audience and just to share what we are doing in this relentless Father's army.
Excellent, excellent. Brother Randall, how can people get a hold of you for more information?
Sir, if you want to join the Relentless Fathers Army, please go to relentlessfathersarmy.com. Relentlessfathersarmy.com, and you can join. If you want coaching, go to relentlessfathersarmy.com slash coaching hyphen or dash with dash Randall. Again, that is relentlessfathersarmy.com slash coaching dash with dash Randall.com or dash Randall. Just reach out to me and let's do coaching. I was blessed to have been able to go to the Rich Coaches Academy, and this is where I found my niche on parenting, but with the emphasis on fathers. You can also reach out to me by email, relentlessfathersarmy at gmail.com. And I will go ahead and throw in my phone number, 571 two
Well,
four eight.
let's do this. Definitely make sure that you put all your general information in the comment section, because I think that would be a whole lot more easier, especially for those that would catch this on a replay. They will
Yes, sir.
have like all your information, all your social media handles, like you're on obviously here, Facebook, Instagram, you know,
Mm-hmm.
YouTube, TikTok. We want to make sure you have all that, even though I believe it was on the flyer anyway,
Yes,
that I
sir.
created
Yes,
prior
sir.
to us coming on. But let's to make sure that we have that information
Yeah.
also again. One last point too, and so far this has been absolutely incredible. But if you've been following my podcast, you know I like to do a segment called Devil's Advocate, in which did something that's a lot of people definitely appreciate it. So I'm going to mention this scenario to you. There's going to be people that's going to watch this podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to say, wow, it's a lot of great information. I could definitely relate an ID with that, as far as what relentless borrowers. And I love that, right? But then, there's always going to be a person or individuals that's going to say to themselves, well, that's all great, but Brother Randall, I'm not there yet, right? I got a lot of other different things going on. I got work, I got, the bills, I got mortgage, all this other stuff, right? I'm just busy, 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 busy. And that sounds good, but maybe as far as in the springtime, maybe in the summer, maybe sometime next year. I'll get around to it when I get around to it. Just not there yet. And you're noticing that they have a lot of excuses, if you will,
Mhm.
on why not to be a relentless father or even be better, as a man. So
Mhm.
if you had an individual that was either right in front of you, or if you was coaching this individual and they would mention that to you and they would list all the reasons why that they can't, I'm going to go ahead and put you back here on the solo screen, and I want you to minister to them. And for just about 5 minutes, right? What would you tell that man that's coming with you with all this stuff on why he cannot do it? So I'm going to let you go ahead and take it away.
Yes, sir. Great question. The reason I do believe in, for me, really for me, to step out beyond that comfort zone. And we talked about pain. We talked about when there's changes that are going to have to be made, it's going to be some uncomfortable moments. And what I found out is that a lot of it was because, here we go, I didn't want to leave the environment in which I was accustomed to. I didn't want to let go of friends who I'd known all of my life. But when we came together, we were all discussing the same old thing. Man, I got a lot of work to do. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to find time. But when you get into the company of wise men who don't want to hear the excuses, they'll let you go on for about 10 minutes, and then they'll do you just like they did me. They will take that window and give you a mirror and look at yourself. See, we can't enhance anything else around us unless we are going to change ourselves. It is that mindset that I can do this, because if Randall can do it with his track record, and he's willing to walk with me and encourage me to do this, or I can do it. It's just making up in your mind that I am going to do and take the necessary steps to get better. And that means that I am going to have to leave some people behind, some people who want to stay, because guess what? They don't want to step out of that environment. They're so used to being this, and they think this is all there is. No, when you start to work harder on yourself than you do on your job, guess what? It affects the way you do your job. It affects the way you meet people. It affects the way you think about yourself. So now all of a sudden, the naysayers, oh, they're going to be there. Who do you think you are? Now you want to make this change. But when you hold that vision of the family that you want, when you want that loving, kind, understanding household, listen to me, fathers. It is amazing when the one who created you and I, he sits high and looks low. When he see that you are making the effort, it's amazing how the people, he'll start opening doors up for you that you didn't even think about opening. You'll see blessings start to come your way, and all of a sudden, now you're walking in a whole different way. Your children, your family, your bills, everything is being taken care of. Why? Because you decided that you were going to make a change. So leave the naysayers behind, focus on yourself, and make the commitment. Once you make that decision that you want to be this impactful, loving, empowering father, my promise to you is that you already got it when you make the decision.
There it is. You know something, I couldn't have said it even better as well. I will just leave one thing. Well, actually, I'll add on one thing. For 2024, and this is something which that I spoke about as far as with my fellow colleagues. What really causes for a person to make a major shift right? As we're embarking into a new year, it's really the preparation prior to. It's really the mindset. What happens is that you have a lot of individuals which they love to do the New Year's resolutions, and we all know New Year's resolutions really work, right? And what happens is that you have people that have those New Year's resolutions, and then over the course of time, like within the first couple of weeks or even couple of months, they just fall out on their New Year's resolutions. In order for you to make a major shift, you had to make that committed decision. You had to be willing, as you mentioned, to step out on faith and really with your higher power, making that committed decision. Until you do that, nothing is going to change. We all know what insanity is, right? Doing the same things and expecting different results. So
Exactly.
with that, for each and every single person, you have to make that decision. You have to make that committed decision. But more importantly, ask yourself, what are you willing to let go, or what are you willing to sacrifice in order to get to that next level? And that is something that is an individual basis.
Mhm.
And you have to be serious about that,
Man,
because if not, nothing's definitely going to change. Bro, Randall, you said so much, and I most certainly appreciate you, my friend. This was something that was long overdue.
yes.
And in spite of, as far as with the issues, the transformer going out, the show still must go on. So I loved how the way we was able just to focus really on the value and serving people at
Yes,
the
sir.
highest level, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
I most certainly appreciate that. And with that, family, this concludes another episode, which I believe is 169 of Transformation Greatness along with the Small Business Network. Once again, we definitely want to thank our very special guest, Brother Randall Gilbert from Relentless Barbers. By all means, please feel free to follow him, subscribe, and get in contact with him as well if you want to know more information. For those that's watching this, and if you're looking for radio and TV opportunities, if you would love to have your own channel built, definitely let's have a conversation. This would be something which I believe would definitely be of interest to you. And if you're looking at this and you're saying like, wow, I love how the way this flowed. I love how the way this went. Hey, I would love to be a guest as far as on the show. Then by all means, please feel free to reach out to me as well. We can definitely go ahead and make that happen. So
Yes.
I can't see the comments or anything else. So with that, I'm gonna have to wait till this is over with. But until then, family, definitely enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening. And I'm sorry, of your Sunday, excuse me. And we're going to end this segment like I do all of our others. And if we stated on here, either motivated, transformed, or inspired at least one person, then may God be the glory. We take no credit for absolutely none of it. So until then, you're all amazing. 2024, which is hours away, guys. And let's go ahead and rock it out and make 2024 the best year ever. So
Happy New
until
Year.
then, Happy New Year, everybody. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Peace and love, family. Thank you so much for your time.